Hey guys, it's Saturday afternoon, a little bit after 1, and I might do a live session after this. We'll see. But I wanted to do a short video just discussing some of the yogic principles that have been playing on my mind, been thinking about quite a bit, uh, working through these as I have for a number of years. But as my own path deepens, I share a little bit more. I talk about it in my live sessions, but this way gives me a little chance to put a short video out dealing with one thing at a time. Hopefully, my conversations always end up going everywhere, but let's see how this goes. Um, so, I started off talking about the ethical foundation of which yoga is built from ground up. That we have the yamas and the niyamas. The yamas are considered often likened to a personal moral code, ethical conduct, and they're thought of as things that we abstain from. Although I don't like that description much because I think in those terms as in a negative connotation that we avoid this thing, and then of course we put our focus on that because it's always focused in the things that we are trying to push away. It's the saying in AA, you never get enough of what you don't want, something along those lines. Um, so if we are discussing the first yama, which again is the personal, moral observation, discipline, practice. I like practice best of all, I think. It's ahimsa, which is often referred to as nonviolence or non-harming. Both apply, although I think there's a deeper, I like non-harming, but I think there's a deeper way of looking at it. None of this stuff that I'm going to talk about is me teaching. Um, I'm not really a yoga teacher. I am certified meditation teacher and breath coach. Um, I've studied yoga for decades. I do. I am in process of yoga teacher certification, as well as yogic philosophy and psychology. But even then, I'm not going to consider myself a meditation teacher, not in the sense that I'm going to stand in front of a group and teach. What I'm going to do is exactly what I'm doing now, which is to share my own journey through yoga and how it goes, how it's been going, how it started, and take it from there. And then when I do my live questions, if anyone has or my live sessions, if anyone has a question, we'll take it from there. So the yamas and the niyamas are often skipped for the sake of asanas in yoga classes. People don't want to hear about what not to do. Even when they're talking about diet, even when they're talking about exercises, they don't want to learn, don't eat this, don't eat that. How can I lose weight and still eat the things that I like? Which is difficult. Maybe not possible. Here's another way, and this is perhaps a more yogic way. Change what you like. Change your taste. Entirely doable. It takes a little work, it takes some practice, but it can be done. I did that. I became a vegan without liking vegetables. Now I do. I just retrained everything. I'm a whole food, plant-based vegan, which means that, I don't survive on um, vegan burgers, fake meat. I eat plants. That's it. Different kinds of plants. And there's much more plants than there are meat. People eat chicken, they eat beef, they eat pork. There's other stuff, but those are the three main things. I have hundreds of vegetables to choose from, hundreds of different types of plants to choose from. So we can reframe all of this stuff, all of the yoga principles, all of the yoga paths. When we talk about ahimsa, non-harming, and let's stick with that for now instead of non-violence, It's a way of going through life, personal practice, of causing the least amount of harm to ourselves as well as others. And we forget that part, ourselves. We think that we have to be this passive, non-confrontational person in order to practice non-harming, and that's far from the case. I often talk about Gandhi, how there was nothing passive about Gandhi. Yes, he was small. He appeared meek. He was a force of nature. He toppled through nonviolent means, through fasting, through walking. He took countless beatings. He was imprisoned. And he toppled the single greatest military at that time, the British Empire, without a single shot being fired from his side. All through that force of nature, all through that force of non-harming, because he was a firm believer in Ahimsa. And from him, it carried over to Dr. Martin Luther King. He took those same principles and marched in the streets of America, practicing nonviolent resistance. And he made wonderful strides in the civil rights movement. More to go, still. It's an ongoing fight, obviously. But it was all accomplished. Those days through the 50s and the 60s and the early 70s, all of it was accomplished without violence. The majority of it was accomplished without violence. That's Ahimsa. Nothing passive about it. I often say, if I am called to defend myself, I will. If I am called to defend my loved ones, I will. If I am called to defend a stranger, I will. Because sometimes, by avoiding that, we're causing harm, just by avoidance. So it can't be really thought of as just abstaining from something. It's a responsive, living, flowing energy that we tap into, and we work our way through it. We work our way through our life. This is how we do it. Or this is how we do it. We don't just put our head down and bull straight ahead, and we don't run away. We respond. We respond because we are immersed in life as life itself, and there's no way out of it, nor should we seek a way out of it. Not on the meditation mat, not on the yoga mat, not by practicing non-violence and non-harming, which is, again, not the deepest expression that of Ahimsa, how we can see it. But it has to apply throughout, which is why I changed my diet. Been a vegan for 13 plus years, maybe 14, because of that. I needed to remove myself from that cycle of cruelty, which was agribusiness. I think you can hunt and practice non-harming to an extent. Same with fishing. Same with working in a small farm or buying local, supporting small farms, organic, true cage-free type stuff. Not just some company that calls themselves cage-free because they give their poultry breathing space for a little bit of time. Animals can't be treated as commodity. Not if you want to practice Ahimsa. Because it also applies to us. We are eating the fear-based chemicals that these animals produce, the hormones that they produce. We are ingesting it. We are causing harm to ourselves. That's why it's so deep. That's why you really have to be responsive and navigate through life, being on the lookout to how we cause harm, including verbally. Gossip is a form of harm. Political violence in language. Making someone other because you're a Republican, because you're a Democrat, because you're this, that you are other than me, and therefore you should suffer in some way because of your beliefs. Beliefs, again, or another form of violence if we take them to that extreme, as well as our thoughts, because our thoughts are energy, vibrations that cause damage to us if we hold those thoughts. I keep mentioning the Buddha saying that we are not punished for our anger, we're punished by our anger. It's the damage that anger causes us, physically, emotionally, psychologically, high blood pressure, hypertension, a host of things that happen. So this is how we navigate looking for these violent streams that course through our lives. And we don't necessarily have to seek to eliminate them like that. We just work with them. That's our practice, being kind. So we could take that Yama, Ahimsa, non-harming, and place it in a positive frame mind of being kind to ourselves. There's nothing passive about being kind, and it also doesn't mean keeping quiet when we should speak out. We all know that sometimes kindness means being strong. That is the truest strength, actually, in so many cases. Not many people want to hear something that might be in their own best interest, but maybe the kindest option we have is to talk to them about a particular issue. Maybe not. Again, the key is being responsive. And again, I don't know any of this stuff for certain. I'm working through it. Same as you. That's the very first of the yamas. There's 5 yamas. There's 5 niyamas. The niyamas are more observations. Things, maybe a better word is observance. Things that we observe. Even that doesn't seem to work. But they're more the ethical. They're more, they deal more with society, community, and how we interact with people versus the yamas, which are more personal. Things that we do, things that we adhere to in order to eliminate a large degree of emotional and psychological suffering in our lives. That's the 8 limbs of yoga, is working on that path to eliminate that type of suffering. I don't think we ever eliminate suffering in our lives. I don't think we're supposed to, because it's life. It's an aspect of life. But that emotional suffering, that psychological suffering, that can be reduced quite a bit. The Buddha said that life is suffering, sort of. He actually said life is dukkha, which means sort of fleeting, unsatisfying, and that we suffer because we cling to that which is impermanent, which is true. You can't argue with something that's called the first and second noble truth. But we cling to the impermanent because we want it to stay. Nothing wrong with that. We want it to stay, or we want to push it away. We don't just accept things as they are now because that's the way they are right now. As Robert Saltzman, the author of the 10,000 Things, would put it, a once upon. That's what each moment is. Never to be repeated like this. It's already in motion. If we could just realize that life is already in motion and that what is right now isn't always going to be, that might reduce to a large degree the amount of psychological suffering that we go through. However, the yogic path, 8 limbs, and we work through it, and we work through it for life, not for any end result of reaching enlightenment and never suffering again, but again, just to navigate our way through life. As easy as we can make it, as joyful as we can be, as blissful as we can be. Maybe we can do it. If we try, we're better for it. That's what yoga is all about. So with that, next time we will talk about the second yama, which is truthfulness. And I will see you guys later. All right. Take care.